Well, you know what?
I don't know what the heck it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to go to our guest. Joining us live on the phone right now on line 2, it is Hot Rod, Rowdy Roddy Piper. Piper, thank you very much.
You gotta love them bagpipes, man.
I pop for it every time.
Look out, baby. Here I come. How are you guys doing? How you doing, man?
We're doing tremendous. Thank you very much for joining us on 540 ESPN here in Milwaukee. Roddy Piper, a lot going on. I understand we have you for a few minutes. Let's get a couple things in. Firstly, the last time we saw you was at WrestleMania weekend inducting Wendy Richter into the WWE Hall of Fame. What was that experience like?
I'm the only one that was around when Wendy Richter was performing, her and Cyndi Lauper. My claim to fame at that time was I accidentally kicked Cyndi Lauper when she was like the female vocalist of the year.
Was that the year Cyndi Lauper? I thought you were talking about when Wendy Richter sang the national anthem at WrestleMania. She sings like a bird, a vulture.
It was brutal. And when Cyndi Lauper, when she's getting her award, she grabs her award, and the last thing she says is, "Roddy Piper, you're going to get yours." The next year was hell for me. People would come up next in their cars and put on "Girls Just Want to Have Fun." I would get into a restaurant. I would fight my way out over lemon pie. It was unbelievable, that job. So Vince McMahon decides to pick me to put Wendy Richter in, and the first thing that Wendy Richter says is, "Piper's got the best mouth in the business," and my wife's there. My wife goes, "What does she mean by the best mouth in the business?" I don't know. Holy cow!
There was that one time in Cleveland.
You're great. Milwaukee was like back in the day. That was Crusher country.
Oh, indeed. You spent a lot of time here as well, down at the Mecca Arena.
Oh, yeah, it's a great town, man. Oh, man. They're going to have Roddy Piper Day around there coming up soon. I'm going, good Lord.
April 16th, I believe. Roddy Piper Day.
What should I do on Roddy Piper Day? Any idea?
Be Roddy Piper. Just don't be Roddy Piper with Ric Flair Roddy Piper.
Oh, woo. I got more trouble with Ric Flair. He's such a jerk. Here's a Ric Flair story. This is a true story, unfortunately. Every time we get on airplanes, and I don't know what the heck was wrong with Rick. He'd go, "Pipes, what do you think?" I don't care, Rick. Rick would get up. He always had an Armani suit on. When we got in the airplane, he'd get up, he'd go to the bathroom, he'd take off his Armani suit, he'd put on his nature boy robe, naked as a jaybird, and then serve drinks. Free drinks to everybody on the airplane. The airplane would go down an emergency landing. They'd arrest me. Every time. Now he's in trouble for it now because I wasn't there. I keep getting the heat for a cause of so much trouble. I was just trying to save Rick. I don't know if you've seen him naked, but it's not a pretty sight.
No, but apparently everybody else has.
Who do you want to? I love Ric Flair, though. I love Ric Flair. He's
Roddy, you're out in California filming Pizza Man with Diamond Dallas Page and Freddie Muniz.
How did you know that, man?
It was on TMZ.
I'm with Diamond Dallas Page. He keeps doing the diamond cutter. One more picture with a diamond cutter. I don't know, man. It's actually very cool. You know who else is Adam West, Batman?
Oh wow. That's awesome.
And also a friend of mine, Stan Lee.
That's
so
awesome.
It's like, it's kind of cool,
So you got the Marvel and the DC comic figures there.
I know, and Stan, I said, just get this. I'm talking to Stan Lee, so I said, hey, man, next time, put me in your movie, I could play Batman. That's like the only movie he's never done. All right, another great career move by Rod.
Roddy, speaking of careers, we've got a live chat going on our website at pwrshow.com, and one of our users just said, Roddy Piper, probably the greatest talent to never hold a world heavyweight championship.
Wow. It's an interesting piece of work, that one. Because back in the day, there was a lot of pride taken in I can get over, I don't need a belt to get over.
Mm-hmm.
And so also I guess I was a little on the rebel side.
A little?
I'm like the most fired wrestler ever, too. And, I'd get in there, and it was, holding the belt is something where it's very office-orientated. Mm-hmm. And I understand that. But in the business of pro wrestling, especially when it banged in the 80s, if you weren't a bit of a renegade, you didn't stand out. I mean, you had Schultz, who's slapping Stossel. You got Paul Orndorff, that's just beating everybody up. Snuka, Morocco, Andre the Giant, Bruno Sammartino. I mean, the list goes on. Tony Atlas. There was so much talent. If you didn't walk the line, then you weren't going to get anywhere. So I had kids to feed, and I remember the first WrestleMania, they wanted me to take a dive for Hogan. No, I ain't doing it. Or to settle the score. Before that, they want me to take a dive for Hogan. I can't do it. And Mr. T in the boxing match, I can't do it because I got kids. The ice cream bar that Hogan had, I had ice cream bars.
Yeah.
The bath towels, my kids got wet too. I needed the bath towels, and so McMahon, he took that as being not conducive to the business. For heaven's sakes, my whole life has been the business. So I don't know really how to deal with that one, other than I don't know anybody else is here that never held a belt, I guess. Well, it's been a long road, guys.
I think it's safe to say that if there wasn't Roddy Piper being hated, Hulk Hogan never would have been quite so popular.
I love you too, man. I'm in the dressing room one time, and I'm sitting down on a bench, and Hogan's to my right, naked, and Savage is to my left, naked, and Savage has got a Norelco, and he's shaving his bum. Whoa! What the hell are you guys doing? So I don't shave my body and tan. That's kind of gay shape, I'm not a judge. I wear a kilt, okay?
Well,
but it was go.
Yeah. Great Roddy Piper moments. There have been so many great WrestleMania moments. You look at your, I think, tremendous matchup with Bret the Hitman Hart, which I think was for the Intercontinental Championship. I think it was WrestleMania 8, and that promo right before the match, excellent as well. You look at the Piper's Pit with Morton Downey Jr. and Brother Love. Just good stuff. But there's one WrestleMania that was a little bit controversial, and I'd like to hear your take on this, and that would be the one where you had a matchup, I believe it was WrestleMania, with Bad News Brown.
Oh, I got in so much trouble for that. I tell you the God's truth. This is exactly what happened. I'm walking down the hallway in some arena, and there's Pat Patterson and Vince McMahon, and they pull me into a room, say, we want you to wrestle Bad News Brown. Now, Bad News Brown was a great judo player, and I had a lot of respect for him, a lousy pro wrestler. And I'm looking at the guy, and everybody's sitting down, and you could cut the air with a knife. And Bad News was there. And I'm in my head, I'm going, I got about 40 promos to do on this guy. What am I going to say? And all of a sudden, I just said, it's God's truth. I said, I'm going to paint myself half black. It just came out of me.
It came to you.
I swear. Vince McMahon looks at me and he says, I swear to you, I love you. Exactly what he said. So it came time for the match, and McMahon went and got a special solution that when they put it on me, it wouldn't come off when I sweat. So we get to There's so much to it. I got to give you the condensed version. We get to the WrestleMania. Boom! I had this lackluster match. I went out kind of shaking my hand like Michael Jackson, and everybody kind of looked at me like, What is he on tonight? Milk and vitamins. I don't know. And so then the thing is, I come back, and there's a special clear solution to take off the special paint. The lady is rubbing my cheek to take the paint off because they painted me half black, literally, all the way down my body. Okay? I insisted on it.
Did you need help?
Yeah. Did you need any help from Randy on that?
Everything, I swear, everything on my body, all right, my bum included. And so when they went to take it off, she's rubbing, and my cheek starts bleeding. I go, wait a second. What happened was Andre the Giant and Arnie Skolin had dumped out the clear solution and filled it full of water. So I think that was in Toronto, Canada. And I live in Portland, Oregon. So the next day, I've been drinking a bit. The next day I had a cowboy hat that Bob Orton had left in my room I'm not sure why. So I was wearing that to give back to him. I was half black. I had a Mickey Mouse, 4-foot Mickey Mouse under my left arm for my daughter, a Halliburton my right arm, going through customs in Chicago. It parted like the Nile. I sat down in first class, and I put Mickey in the next seat. She says, the flight attendant says, you're going to have to check Mickey. I bought him a first-class seat. I even had to strap him in, if that's not ridiculous. And so the way I got that pain off is I went into the sauna. Like for 3 weeks, it kept rubbing. And what was I going to do? Go beat up Andre?
Right.
I tried. I wasn't really good at that.
3 weeks. Wow.
Everybody thought that I was being racist. And, man, listen, I was born in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. There's no black people stupid enough to live in a country or a town that cold. They're much smarter than me. And it had nothing to do with it. I don't know. It just came out of me. I don't know, guys. I don't know.
You know what? It's one of those moments, though, that I don't think wrestling fans will ever forget.
I know. Because so much. Did somebody? I think the honky tonk man. He got some kind of grudge against me, and he's the one that's brought up that I was a racist. And so he said in one interview, he says, "I've got David Schultz and Bad News Brown backing me up." I go, wait a second. One's a black militant, and the other's a KKK card-bearing character. and Honky Tonk is an Elvis impersonator that wrestles that can't play the guitar nor sing. All right. How afraid am I supposed to be? True story.
You know what, Rowdy? One of the talents that we didn't mention was the Iron Sheik.
Oh, Sheiky baby.
Holy cow, man.
We got to hear an Iron Sheik story.
Oh, Lord. Let's see. There's so many. Iron Sheik is an interesting individual. We were coming back from Columbia, South Carolina. And the Iron Sheik likes to indulge in smoking stuff like hay and alfalfa or whatever it might be, all right? So,
he's an herbalist. Yeah.
I'm driving this yellow Lincoln Mark, and I don't know what I was doing, but I was so strung out. I didn't want nothing. I didn't want beer. I didn't want nothing. We're driving back, and right by a policeman about 95 miles an hour, and I'm driving. And the cop pulls us over, and the Sheik was smoking his alfalfa. And he puts the alfalfa under my seat. This is the Sheik's logic. If nobody claims it, then it doesn't belong to anybody in the car, and we'll all go free.
So then why didn't you put it under his seat?
Yeah, you know, my seat. So I get out, and so the cops, of course, smell the alfalfa. And they right away, whose alfalfa is it? Get out of the car, hands against the wood. I'm waiting for the Sheik to stand up. The Sheik says, you know, Daddy, he says, I am the Iron Sheik from Thailand, Iran, world champion here. And he starts to hand the police an 8x10 of him to give to his kid so he'll let us go. Cop looking at him. Cop opens the trunk, and there's a .389 millimeter packed in the trunk. That was mine.
Wow.
So, all right, everybody in the car. So then he goes into the Sheik's bag, and he finds some Valium. And then he finds this thing that's a grinder for other illicit stuff. And so the cop says, all right, whose is it? You know, Daddy, I am the Iron Sheik from Tehran, 8x10. Finally, I just said, it's mine. Just give it to me and take the Sheik to jail or me. I don't care. Give me away from here. And they took me to jail. The Sheik went free, and I had nothing. For once, I had nothing to do with it.
You should have just kept saying, I am the Rowdy the Piper.
The Sheik's got this logic where, an 8x10 fixes everything. And, he probably was going to charge him for it, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Rowdy Piper, this is just great stuff, and we're going to get a lot more of it because you're going to be here in town, as we said, Rowdy Piper Day on April 16th. But just before that, on April 15th, you're going to be at Joker's Comedy Club here in Milwaukee.
We're going to have so much fun then. We'll have a ball. Everybody sits around. Like, you name a town, I can tell you a story about it. And I don't take it too serious anymore. I love everybody. I love everybody, man. I'm a big dad. I got a lot of kids. Some kids I don't claim, but they know me. We sit around and we laugh. We'll have a hot toddy, and we'll have a great time. I'm really looking forward to seeing you, man.
Let's see. I know you still got it, but if I say a name, let's see what your reaction is. Haku.
Okay.
Haku.
Holy cow. Human Vegematic. Not even Barb. Remember Barbarian messed with Haku. Haku was so tough with his feet and his hands that he's the only guy that could, he can be alone in a bar anytime he wants to. And he was a sumo wrestler. And he wouldn't, like in sumo wrestling, you have to wash the backs and bathe the top sumos and stuff. And he wouldn't do it. And no one could beat him. So they just kicked him out. They didn't know what else to do. A wonderful guy.
Every time Mean Gene mentioned his name, though, you said, God bless you.
How much of that do you forget, Yeah, exactly.
I forgot about that, man. You know what? That was an inside joke with us. And I get to do it on the air all the time. Haku, God bless you. April. He would look at me because he thought that it made him a little light in the loafers, little fairy.
April 16th and April 17th, Rowdy Roddy Piper, BlizzardBrawl.com, going to be making appearances for Great Lakes Championship Wrestling in Racine on Friday, and in Waukesha on Sunday. It is going to be an amazing weekend. And Rowdy Roddy Piper, thank you very much for coming on and sharing some of those amazing stories with us. And good luck with your movie, Pizza Man, filming right now out in LA.
May all your dreams come true, boys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Roddy.
Thank you, Roddy. This is the award-winning Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, streaming live at ESPNMilwaukee.com.